Hello and welcome to this lecture on Adobe Photoshop by Eduonix. In this lecture we're going to be going into paragraph, namely the paragraph panel, and it's kind of an extension of the character and the type lesson. We're going to be going into some of the more advanced parts of the type tools and paragraph tools, stuff we didn't cover and stuff that's kind of linked between the two. So if you open up your paragraphs panel under Window and Paragraph, and go ahead and drag out a text box and fill it with some dummy text. If you do Google search for lorem ipsum, which will be the first two words in this paragraph you're about to see, you will find dummy text you can use, although it's never that hard to find text. So here I have the lorem ipsum, and there's a generator on that site. However, you can just use the text as is, just any text will do. And remember, we have it in a text box, so when I switch to a vector tool, and we have it in a text box, but when you draw it out with the text tool, the box is editable when you have the text tool, whereas when you draw out the text box like this, and then you use the text icon, the text tool to do text in a shape, then the shape, the box, is editable when you have the shape selected. I recommend using the shape when you can, and it's good for like an initial layout because you can draw the shapes out and then put your images in, and you can link the shapes together. If I'm not sure it has that option, but so let's take a look at this, and it operates the same as a text box basically. Photoshop is a little conflicted. So let's take a look at the paragraph panel with some paragraph text in there, and open it up on yours and just try to follow along. We have a first few options here. We'll get into those. We have left line, center, and right aligns, ones you're going to be using most often, but also justify. And justify is just like the shape looks. It'll stretch stuff out to fill in. And then you'll have an issue sometimes with hyphenation. As you can see, letter set, it's one word, and publishing is one word. So if I uncheck hyphenate, then you won't have any hyphenation, and you won't have any orphans, what's called half of words at the end of a paragraph. And another thing you can do to increase how good these look is in the options button up here, when you see single line composer and every line composer, select every line composer, and you'll get a more calculated, usually a better looking paragraph. If I just go back, well, we can just do a little comparison here. But those are the two things you'll use a lot. Is that option and these. So you know what these do. If we do fully aligned text, every line composer makes it look way better than single line composer generally, and it's a little bit hard to tell I guess here, but you'll find that, especially if you have curved type. And these each have their own design applications, so this one's usually only recommended if you really want it. But let's take a look at some of these other. You can select your justification, specifically with the Justification Tool in this little drop down menu here, and you can set the minimums and maximums, and desired in Photoshop will try to approximate based on the type and based on your settings here. So if I just hit OK, you can see these settings in action. And I guess it's based on what I had, what was already there. So you could change them. Let's set these all higher. So an additional 100 on each of these. and I'll hit OK, and we can hit undo to look at the difference. This is putting, it's allowing for more space in between the letters by increasing those numbers on the top row. And just play around with that, because it's nice to have if you really are having trouble getting it all to fit together. And then there's hyphenation, which is just rules for hyphenation. It's pretty self-explanatory. Words longer than 5 letters will get hyphenated. Whereas after the first 2 letters, in the actual word, where the hyphen is put and where the rest of the word goes. How many hyphens? I'm supposing this is in a text box. So once it reaches this limit, it'll stop. I guess it'll stop hyphenating, because too many hyphens looks bad. And 8's actually pretty high. I would set this to something like 2 or 3, really. But those 2 you'll use a lot too. And then reset paragraph will reset the paragraph to how it was before you start working on it. And let's take a look at these. With any of these, you can click and slide to the left or right, and it's a really fast way to affect the content quickly, because you have to triple click or double click and put in. It takes a little bit longer to enter values in specifically, so sometimes you can just kind of approximate what you want, just drag and click these. And as you can see, they're indentation. So you see what this does when I drag it to the right. It starts indenting the text to the right. And if you hold in Shift and drag it to the right, it'll do it really fast. And you can move things to the left and to the right equally. So the same thing is for the top line, indentation only. You can see that. Generally, you can accomplish this with a tab. And this is, distance from the right side, just like this is distance from the left side. So if I move this, we're getting space before the paragraph, which is actually affecting our formatting just a little bit and shifting it. But you can't see anything with that one. I don't really use these last 2 that often. So there you have the paragraph panel. There's not that much to it, but understanding what every line composer does and custom justifications, and the fact that these are indents and how easily you can just manipulate them, and when to use these kind of things as far as a design standpoint, will give you a good start on using paragraph formatting options. So since there's still time, let's take a look at character and paragraph styles. They're just like graphic styles if you saw that video. The big difference is for character and paragraph respectively. I'm just going to attach these all together. So we have character and paragraph styles. So let's select one, and you can see as you select one, a little plus sign happens next to paragraph styles, and at the same time this, which is called clear override, pops up. So let's click the new button, which is a universal shape, so you should be able to recognize it, and that'll create paragraph style 1. And if we were to duplicate this layer and just drag it down, and let's change it so you can see. Let's just change its properties down here in paragraph. Give it an indent, and we'll make it center, hyphenation, and you can give it custom things here too. Set to single line. You'll see that it remembers all of it. So anything that's in the panel, it'll remember. And it doesn't remember single line composer. even though we had it on single line composer when we changed it. So keep in mind that it won't remember certain things from these menus. So it's good to use these paragraph and character styles, and you can delete them by hitting the trash can, of course. And you have these two options on the left, which I mentioned before: redefine paragraph style by merging overrides, and clear overrides. An override just means that there's things in this paragraph that aren't defined by the style. And I think there was an override in the first one. So to return it to just the style, like there's something in here that doesn't agree with there's something in here which doesn't agree with the paragraph style. It's overriding it. So we can override that essentially and go back to just this paragraph style without any exceptions by clicking this button. And it looks like that was something it had to do with the character itself. So we'll just get into paragraph styles here, and we'll do a video on character styles separately, but they essentially work the same way. Just they affect individual characters, distance between characters, line distance, but not the whole paragraph formatting. So it's basically works the same way, just copying settings from the character over here, but there's a few more and it's a little bit more complex. So thanks for watching this video, and make sure you watch the other videos on styles and play around with it and learn it. Please.